I'm here with James Westman as we discuss family treasures with the Kiwanis performance of Stratford. James, thank you for joining me.
Oh, it's great to be here, Peter. Thank you for having me.
Well, I never know in the world where I'm going to catch you, so I'm glad that for the Zoom, you can get to anyone, anywhere. James, tell us about your history. I think your mom's name is Doris, and what the history is with Kiwanis, please.
Yes, my mother's name is Doris. She was a fantastic mom. She passed about 5 years ago. She was very involved in the Kiwanis. That's why there's a trophy in her honor. She was an old-time fiddler, and as you know, your family had some part in fiddling with my wife, and she was an avid fiddler. And she taught up at Shelburne and did the Shelburne show, and she was very involved in the Kiwanis. And my grandmother actually was an organist. And yeah, so my family dates back to the Kiwanis many generations. So, and festivals around the area that model themselves after the Kiwanis Festival. So it's been a big part of my life, and it's maybe the reason why I sing today, to be honest.
So James, what about yourself in Kiwanis? Did you perform as a child?
Oh my goodness. The Kiwanis essentially gave me a career and confidence more than anything. I was a farm boy in the middle of nowhere. We were relatively impoverished at the time. You know, it was the 80s and interest rates were very high. And I was singing in choirs. And I think when I was 5, I entered the Kiwanis Music Festival singing The Big Red Bus. And I got second place, I believe, but it made me work hard. And I got a wonderful adjudication. And by the time I was 9 and 10, I was winning 3 trophies a year. And it enabled me to go to Europe to sing with the American Boys Choir and then the Vienna Boys Choir. And they actually raised money for me through the Kiwanis Club to do so, my flights and accommodations and different expenses. So it was really paramount for me in a society that loved music, but really propelled these young artists to do things beyond Perth County. And it still does that today.
Yeah, so
When
Now, the next generation with Liam and Hardy, did they perform at all in Kiwanis?
Oh my goodness, yes. You know Liam and Hardy very well. And a lot of people in the area know them. It was, you know, growing up, it was always hockey and music. We weren't allowed to watch TV much at all. And I kind of instilled that in my boys. So my one boy is still, he's playing with the North York Rangers in North York. But he played cello and Liam played violin. And they were very successful in Kiwanis. Sometimes they didn't agree with Mom, especially, to enter Kiwanis, but they begrudgingly went in there and competed. And it served them well because they can now speak in front of an audience and hold themselves in esteem and confidence. I think it did a great service to them as they get older. It's been wonderful.
Yeah, 4 generations. That's an amazing family heritage. What about tell us about your 4th movement in, is it Mahler's Symphony Number 4?
Yeah, Mahler Symphony Number 4. It's, you know, this was I look back at it and I didn't even think twice about it. I remember my sister telling me this is a big deal and I just said, whatever. And I was in the American Boys Choir for a while and there was an audition that came out. Leonard Bernstein wanted a boy to do the 4th movement of Mahler, 4th Symphony. And it's a beautiful piece, Peter. You can relate to this as I know you from a Christian background. It was a child's view of heaven. And it was beautifully written with beautiful poem, you know, Martha cooking the bread and a child's view of heaven, going to heaven. And it was written for a soprano, a dramatic soprano, but Bernstein wanted to do it with a boy and a boy soprano. So he put auditions out and I auditioned and I got the part. And the Kiwanis Music Festival was actually very keen on giving me opportunities for coaching, giving me money for coaching, scholarships. So I went down to Boston, performed that with Bernstein down in Boston. And then I had an opportunity to sing it with the traveling Boston Philharmonic to Europe when we did a whole concert tour. At that point, all the cities were communist. So it was an incredible tour and it was a big eye opener. I remember one of the gentlemen in the bus car going to the theater, and I think it was Czechoslovakia singing in Prague, and there was this big, huge lineup of food line. And they told me it was a film line and it wasn't a food line. So, you know, things are coming back to that era now in that regions. But we traveled all the communist countries with the Philharmonic, and then my voice changed a couple months later and it was kind of documented. So it was just really lucky in God's grace that I got to do that. But it really inspired me. It was a beautiful piece. And if anyone ever gets a chance to listen to it, it's just captivating. The Child's View of Heaven, Mahler, fourth movement. So that, and again, Kiwanis was behind that kind of molding of getting me to places that I never thought was possible. And I didn't realize them until many decades later, what Kiwanis gave me the opportunity.
Well, you've literally been in hundreds of professional performances. I understand possibly over 60 roles. How in the world can you prepare for a different role in a different language? How do you do that?
Well, it doesn't get easier, let me tell you that much. I don't particularly speak all the languages. I do speak a bit of Italian and, of course, a bit of French, being Canadian. I am lucky that I have a relatively good photographic memory, and someone said photogenic memory, but photographic memory, in the sense that I can look at music and it kind of goes in and I can recall it. It's not easy. It's much easier when you get to repeat a role and you get to really get your teeth into it. I've done Traviata about 240 times. I'm just about to do my third Rigoletto coming up, and it's difficult to do a new role. I will say it's 300 pages of music. And you're not singing in your mother tongue can be very difficult because, of course, you have to go back and look at each word and realize for the emotion of the audience, for the audience to heal, you have to really put that in your mind because it's the poetry which really inspired the music. So that's difficult. Peter, I remember I sang my first Czech opera in Victoria when I was very young. Cunning Little Vixen. It's a wonderful story. And there was this wonderful little Czech woman that came back to me backstage and said, "Oh, you sounded marvelous. Your Czech was horrible, but you sounded marvelous." And I realized then and there that you can't go on stage unless you do your homework, because you can seriously offend the mother tongue speaking of a language of someone in the audience. So it is difficult. Well, we do our best. The most I've learned an opera in 3 weeks. That was challenging, and a couple all-nighters. But generally, you have to space your time and not procrastinate, like anything else, really.
James, I offend most people singing in my mother tongue, so that's okay.
No, you've got a wonderful voice.
You've literally traveled throughout Europe, throughout North America. What are some of your favorite opera houses to sing and perform in?
The Teatro de Colón in Buenos Aires. It's the first opera house in North America. It is stunning. I think English National Opera, singing at the Globe Theatre, was amazing. Singing at San Francisco Opera, my hometown, the place where I did my apprenticeship. It's a beautiful theater. Many places. Singing at home is wonderful because I get to come home with my family, and at the Canadian Opera Company in Toronto with the Four Seasons Hotel. I opened that up with a gala concert. That was wonderful. It's a wonderful space to hear opera or to watch ballet. There's many places. Dini got to travel with me when I sang in Saido-Keet in Japan, and that was incredible because it was a wonderful experience. And yeah, I've been very blessed, I must say. And during COVID, I realized this. It's been a wonderful time to kind of reset. But traveling the world to sing has been an incredible joy, and I'm really glad that audiences have let me do so.
I've been fortunate to be in the Vienna Opera House, and locally, as you said, the Four Seasons Opera House. I've had spectacular performance there with my brother and just in the audience. It's a great venue. So how fortunate are you? Now let's switch slightly. You mentioned about with your children, hockey and music. I think you've sang at some NHL anthems, have you not?
Yes, I was singing with the Canadian Opera Company Ensemble Studio, and one of the press people said, "I heard you played a little bit of hockey when you were younger." And I said, I dabbled, and would you like to sing the anthem? And I was a young artist there, and I said, absolutely. And then they told me it was for the Maple Leafs, and my jaw just kind of dropped. I think I was 23 at the time. And it went really well. I was terrified. It was more terrifying than singing the hardest opera in the biggest opera house, because you have the words over your head and everyone's kind of just anticipating you to screw up the words. I think that's the ongoing issue. I remember I brought my son once, and we were driving down the 401, Liam, and he was only 10 or 8 at the time. And as I said, I did about close to 70, I think, anthems for the Maple Leafs. And I performed for, anytime I went for an engagement in San Jose or Texas or Florida, I sang. I did my duty and phoned the NHL franchise, and I've sung with almost all the franchises. But we're driving down the 401, and my son goes, "Dad, what happens if you mess up the words?" And I actually had a little flip on one of the words, and he knew the words, of course, because he's a musician and he sang them in school. And we come, and thank God, no one knew. I heard a couple of people go, "Huh?" And I came off, and Liam whispers in my ear, says, "Dad, should we leave through the back door?" So, I don't miss them necessarily. They're incredibly nerve-wracking. I don't do them anymore. But it was an incredible experience. I got to go on a plane once to travel with them, and I sang at Gilmore's Silver Stick anniversary. And I sang, actually, I got the puck when Liam was born, the day after Liam was born. The old guy from the Maple Leaf Gardens with the white hair, I said, I have a special day. My son was born. Oh, you better have this puck. I hear it's a special puck. And it was the last puck Grexy played at the Maple Leaf Gardens. And he brought the puck over to the old guy. I can't remember his name. He used to give out the pucks. And the anthem singer used to sit right behind him. And I'm sitting at a bar with a university buddy of mine, and Gretzky announced that was his last time at Maple Leaf Gardens, and I'm holding the puck, and I still got it upstairs, and I'm like, oh my God.
Well,
so
James,
I've been very lucky. I've been very lucky for that.
You have, from a simple farm boy, as you say, to an incredible musical journey internationally. Thank you very much for joining us. Thank you for your support of Kiwanis as well, and 4 generations with your family.
Oh, thank you, Peter, for having me. Thank you for your great work with Rogers, and keep up the great work. It's wonderful.
Hi, my name is Nadine Simmons and I live in Thunder Bay, Ontario. For the first time last year, the Kiwanis Festival Stratford was virtual, so I was able to participate. The song I chose ties into family, as when I was younger, my Nana asked what I wanted for Christmas, and I told her that I wanted a violin and lessons one year. She asked why I did not want a piano, and I said, but Nana, you can't carry a piano around. The song I chose is the Forget-Me-Not Waltz by John Pettigrew.
Hello and welcome to Family Treasures for the Kiwanis Festival of Stratford. Joining me and talking about his family's legacy to music is Andrew Chung. Andrew, such a pleasure. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you, Peter, for having me.
So you grew up in Stratford in a very musical family. Tell us about that, how it was growing up in your household.
Yes, so I was born in Stratford, and then at age 7, I started up violin and piano lessons, and my sister was a couple of years ahead of me. She's taking piano lessons herself. And my dad had taken violin lessons when he was growing up in Listowel, so I guess that's why we ended up with these 2 instruments in particular.
Now, your dad had a connection, or maybe your parents, I think it was Sing and Ivy. were connected somehow to the Kiwanis Festival. Tell us about that, the early days of them joining that.
Well, I'm pretty sure that they've supported the festival across many years, obviously because of the involvement of their kids, and they sponsored classes over the years. They've volunteered in many capacities, and they've just been avid supporters along the way, recognizing the importance of music in a young person's life and what that brings to their overall development as a young adult.
Why do you think locally it's such an important festival?
Locally, well, I mean, thinking back to when I was involved in the festival, and I think that reflects largely what people would experience today. It's a place for you to try out the things that you've been practicing in the practice room in front of a very warm audience, peppered with lots of your own family members and your fans who want to see what you've been doing. And I think that experience is invaluable. You got to it's a matter of kind of connecting what you do within the practice room to a real world context of performing, and in doing so you learn so much about yourself, right? Like you learn, okay, that I actually feel that this is quite a thrill, to be in front of an audience, or hey, this scares the pants off me, but that's a hill I'm going to climb, and I'm going to find my way there. And I think of the two instruments that I grew up playing, so the violin and the piano. Violin, sure, we would participate in group classes and on the weekends and that sort of thing, and so it was inherently a little bit social. But then it comes to Kiwanis Music Festival time, and that's not just 1 week of your life. You prepare for that, easily across a couple of months. And so you're practicing your pieces, and then you get there and you're seeing, new faces, and you're seeing people who you might only see at this time of year during Kiwanis season, and that's really nice. So it brings it into a social realm. And then especially for the piano, which is such a solitary pursuit and a solitary instrument. And then you get to Kiwanis and you get to see those performers every year. And I remember, there's specific people who I would see every year, and sometimes I'd get second place or third place. Sometimes I get first place, and we trade places. And it was all done in a very friendly spirit, very supportive spirit. And yeah, that little bit of an element of competition certainly didn't hurt, but then it was largely social.
And what about your first time? Do you remember your first time at Kiwanis?
I will confess, I don't remember my very first time, but I would approximate, I was probably 7 or 8 years old. And I remember sort of subsequent years, and I would, they're always so generous, the organizers of the festival, accommodating schedules. They're like, okay, so you play this instrument and you're in this school choir and you're in this, and you try to kind of give them the rundown, and then they fit it together like some master jigsaw puzzle. It's just remarkable. And as I say, they're super accommodating. So I remember that sometimes I would finish one class on one instrument, and then I wouldn't even be there for the adjudication, and I'd dash down to the lower hall and I'd do a class in that the other instrument, and then I go back up and realize, whether I did well in the class or not so well. And there's definitely an element of excitement, just trying to cover all the bases, and it's fun, right?
And the next generation, are your children at all involved in Kiwanis?
Yes, they were for many years. So my son plays piano, my daughter sings and plays piano as well, and she plays guitar. And yeah, for sure, we had them in Kiwanis earlier on. They're middle-aged teenagers now, but in those early days, when I could convince them to pick up a violin and follow as their dad did, that was great. It was tremendous fun, and it was lots of laughs. I accompanying them on the piano. I don't really play the piano that much anymore, but I was much more nervous than they were. Accompanying them, it was quite fun. Yeah, and so they know I've seen them live it and understand it, that preparing to perform at the Kiwanis Music Festival is another layer of work. It's another polish to their craft. And I think that that's held them in good stead for all the things they do in school, like whenever you have to present in front of a class. And just that inner confidence, nurturing that inner confidence. I think that's definitely what they've taken away from that over performing at the Kiwanis many, many times.
Hi, I'm Emma Rush. I'm a guitarist based in Halifax, Nova Scotia, and I'm very excited to be joining the Stratford Kiwanis Festival this year as a guitar adjudicator.
Hi everyone, my name is Petya Stavrova and I will be adjudicating the intermediate and senior piano divisions of the Kiwanis Stratford Music Festival this year.
Hi, my name is Daniela Gassi and I'm extremely excited to be the string adjudicator at this year's Stratford Kiwanis Music Festival.
Hello, my name is Yvette Rolich, and I'll be your adjudicator for the junior piano division.